So without further ado, again, my name is Will Cote from Parks and Trails New York. On behalf of the entire Parks and Trails New York team, I want to thank you for joining us for the first Friends to Friends workshop of 2022. Our workshop series aims to support grassroots friends groups through the sharing of best practices, informative programming, and collaboration. And those tenets really are core to today's presentation. So we're really excited to do that for you. This year's workshops are designed for any groups who champion our state's public lands. So that will include those groups that champion multi-use trails and DEC affiliated public lands and forests and those types of things as well. So we're going to expand out our network just a little bit. And so we also want to be able to engage with and connect with partner organizations who support our mission of expanding, protecting, and promoting a network of parks, trails, and open spaces throughout New York State for enjoyment and use by all. And so with that, I want to hand it over to Shayna Hogan, who's going to take us through the next couple bits of the presentation tonight.
Thank you, Will, and thanks everyone for joining us today. It's really exciting to see so many faces here, a couple new ones too. So today we're going to be looking at the brand new Friends Group Gateway and examining the suite of new membership benefits that we're offering to Friends Groups of all types. So just to give you a little background, for nearly 40 years, if you don't know us, PTNY has been supporting Friends by offering best practice trainings, technical assistance, conferences, events, grants, and statewide advocacy efforts. So the Gateway and its associated member benefits are really the next step in our evolution to advance the impact of Friends Groups. And after a couple years of planning, we're finally ready to share this with you, and we're really excited. So tonight we'll begin our workshop by sharing a little more background on how this monumental shift in our work came to be, and then we'll dive into the membership benefits that we're making available to you all, taking a moment to really highlight aspects that we think will be very beneficial to your organizations. So after that, we'll do a brief Q&A before shifting focus to the Friends Group Gateway, which we will walk you through. So that's the online community that we've created for friends to engage and connect with one another. After that, we'll turn our sights to the future, say what's on the horizon, and add some additional elements that we'll be rolling out over the course of the year. So we'll do another Q&A after that, and then we'll just wrap up today's workshop. So we hope by the end of this that you'll be able to find the value in what PTNY has to offer friends, and that you're excited as we are about the bright future of our work together. So first, as always, I just want to go over a few housekeeping points. So please remain muted to reduce background noise and really foster an enjoyable experience for everyone. We want everyone to hear what's going on. Any questions or thoughts that you have, please add those to the chat so that we can address those during the two Q&A portions that we have going on. And if you're not familiar with Zoom, you can find the chat on the bottom panel of your screen there. If you have any technical difficulties, PTNY staff is monitoring the chat. We can assist you with that as well. And with that in mind, we welcome you to introduce yourself now. I already see a bunch of names and groups in the chat. That's great. If you haven't introduced yourself, put your name, group affiliation, maybe a New Year's resolution you have. It's always fun to see those at the beginning of the year here. All right, so a little bit of background. So the development of the Gateway and our entire suite of membership benefits were spawned by two simple needs. So for years, we've heard from friends groups that one of the primary desires is to have more opportunities to connect with other friends groups and to learn and share and network. So that core need resonated with one of PTNY's main desires, which is to create a more streamlined and effective way for engaging with groups and sharing the resources we have available to make your organization stronger and more impactful. So those are the driving factors behind the Gateway and the community that we're developing for you and with you. But it's really important that we clarify that membership with us is not just access to the Gateway. It is about the entire package of benefits that we want to offer group members. So the Gateway will serve as a one-stop platform for all our work with friends groups. We are using it essentially as a vehicle to streamline our efforts, to maximize our impact, and to enhance the work that we're already doing for friends and with friends, with the goal of impacting or advancing the impact of friends groups on the New York State Park system. So these benefits we've developed and the key tools of the Gateway were cemented by our conversations with the Friends Leadership Council. This was, if you're not familiar with it, it was a pilot initiative we started last summer with 7 group members representing the diversity that exists within the state park community. And that was formed to really guide and inform the work we're doing to support Friends, including our workshop topics, surveys, and in identifying ways to measure the impact and success of groups. So those conversations really refine the benefits that we're going to discuss today. And the missing piece after that was finding the funds to deliver this product to you. So we finally connected with the right organization that saw the value in turning these ideas into a tangible tool and resource for all Friends groups across the state. So the Woolrich Outdoor Foundation, which is the charitable arm of the Woolrich clothing brand, they champion the protection of forests, renewing urban green spaces, and maintaining coastal habitats by funding organizations that enact positive change. So us, hopefully. So many thanks to Woolrich and the Leadership Council members who provided us the resources and the guidance that made these dreams become a reality. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Will so we can examine the full suite of member benefits that we're providing to Friends groups as part of your registration on the Gateway.
Awesome. Thank you, Shana, for that background and framing out the rest of this program and the conversation that we'll have. So as we've said, a Friends group membership with Parks and Trails New York is going to be much more than simply access to the Gateway. So we really want to stress that with all of you. We've curated a package of tools, resources, and perks that we hope will be beneficial to your organization. And those are going to be ranging from member-only newsletters and trainings to events and engagement tools. We really believe there's something for all Friends groups, regardless of your size, your budget, your mission, or sort of where you are in terms of like your organization's growth and your history. We're also going to be offering a membership to individuals that are not necessarily associated with Friends groups under what we're calling an outdoor recreational professional title. So those folks will have access to the entire Gateway and some of the core membership benefits that we're putting forward. So we're really going to be talking today about the Friends group memberships and sort of leaving this individual component to the side for now. Next month, just as a sidelight about one of these memberships, we're going to be bringing back our quarterly You Gotta Have Friends newsletter. It's going to be completely revamped and reimagined to better reflect your needs and the feedback that we've received over the last couple of years. And then later this year, after I Love My Park Day, we will be launching a new program that will try to connect your group with local corporate volunteers. And ideally, that will not only give you more human power to accomplish some key projects that you may have lined up at your park or site or public land, but also give you some connections that hopefully you can leverage and translate into some fundraising or some donation relationships. But let's talk about some of these specific membership benefits in more detail, those that are ready for you to take advantage of today, immediately. First, I want to talk about events. For events, we're offering all of our members early registration access, including to workshops and to I Love My Park Day. Also offering discount to paid events, for example, our upcoming statewide conference for Friends groups, which will be fall of this year, including an invitation to a members only cocktail reception at the conference and ensuring 2 invitations to Park Advocacy Day in years to come. This year, that will be the first full week of March. So you can keep a lookout for some information on that. We also will be doing some information some benefits about advocacy. Really, we want to try to do here is create a louder voice for you all and the work that you do in championing, again, your public lands. So we are going to be able to create one custom online advocacy campaign for each member group per year using a software subscription that we have through Congress Plus. We know that engaging with stakeholders and decision makers and your community is essential to the work that you're doing, and this tool will make it incredibly accessible and hopefully very easy and impactful for you all. So a completely customizable sign-on letter campaign to your municipal, county, or state leaders would be possible. You can target just locally. You can target county or statewide leaders in that. We also have the ability to create sort of what they call custom stickers that are sort of quick links to a sign-on letter or to a larger campaign that you're rolling out that you can share on social media or that you can easily share with partner organizations or including with your individual members or volunteer networks so that they can spread and amplify that message further. This component that we have through this software, Congress Plus, also allows, if you'd like, signees to customize a letter. So you can preset a template that they can just very easily send off to the recipients that you've designated, or you can allow them the space to add their own thoughts and perspectives onto the topic that you're putting forward. And then they can also share it out to their own social media contacts, and you can even have it shared out directly with any local news outlets, like a local newspaper, if you want to amplify your message in that way. So this really will make advancing your own advocacy priorities and raising awareness about problems or upcoming events, for example, incredibly easy to get the word out. And it's also going to engender action and supporters, from the general public and from your park community. So we would have a template that we would send out to you that basically fills, it's a fill in the blank sort of template about what you would like to share out. And then we would complete that and upload that action for you and then send it off. So it's essentially a packaged bundle ready for you to implement. A couple of things about this particular tool that I think is really important are sort of the back end pieces. So it's not only what you get out of that campaign, from a public facing point of view, but it's also what you get as an organization. So you would get then the contact information for all of the signees. You'd be able to see how many clicks it received, how many opens, who received the letters that you had identified, how many, and to which zip codes those folks lived or to where they were received. So that can be really impactful information. And that's really helpful for grants and for planning your own events and outreach in the future. So you can curate and expand your outreach and influence by mining some of those emails and asking them to join your newsletter or to solicit them to volunteer for a day or possibly become a member as well. You can also expand your social media presence through this tool. There's a lot of data that you're able to pull and then utilize for creating more shareable messages. So if you have the opportunity or you're interested in linking it to your social media accounts and you set up a template, so if Shana were to take your action and she posts on her social media, it will tag your account as well. So then you're continuing to spread the message and put your branding and your organization forward to more and more accounts and reaching more and more people. So it's a really great way to get your content out there. And so sort of a 2-for-1, something that we've heard from folks and something that we think would be really helpful for you all. Talking about social media, we also want to really try to support you all in this as well. So as we've mentioned in previous workshops, Parks and Trails New York has had a lot of success growing our social media presence, particularly on Instagram, but also on Facebook and Twitter. And we always encourage friends groups to send us, your events, your programs and activities so that we can share them out on our platforms and help boost the visibility and ultimately the attendance that you're hoping to garner. For example, Arthur Savage intern Maria recently connected with Jones Beach Nature and Energy Center. She promoted their environmental education program that they were hosting on our Instagram account, and were able to link followers or people who were following us directly to their registration page. And they actually sold out or filled up their registration on that same day. So that little bit of an additional push, few more eyes on the opportunity really helped them. And so we got a really nice thank you post from them the next day on our account, thanking us for that opportunity and of course saying if we have more opportunities in the future, we'll let you know. So just one example, but we recognize that not all groups have a member or volunteer who is, graphic design savvy or is particularly confident on social media, which is why we believe that offering this benefit is really important to us and by extension to you all as well. A little additional component to this is we will also be able to leverage our own Canva account to help create some really dynamic digital content, digital imaging that you can use to spread your message and make it maybe feel a little bit sharper than you might be able to do on your own or you feel comfortable doing. So I know Shana has the screen up here. You can see a little bit of a post that we did for Minnewaska State Park's Christmas Eve hike. So we can do that for you. And certainly with your suggestions about how you'd like to see it in your edits and what you're looking to achieve. But creating those types of digital resources can really benefit you in terms of a way to share it out with your networks very easily. And we can also, if you'd like, provide some suggestions on how to spread the message on social media. So it's a bundle. It's not just let us share your content, although we're happy to do that. It's also let us take it one step further and provide you some guidance and really create these really strong tools for you that you can leverage to other things. So I'm hoping that by doing that, by taking us up on our offer, for events and hosts programs that you're hosting, we can push it out to the 60,000 people that are engaged with PTNY through our various platforms. Another member benefit that I want to highlight before we move on to take a look specifically at the Gateway is our member-only fundraising and development workshops. These are going to be created specifically to meet the needs of friends groups and to respond to feedback that we've heard from you all, from the Leadership Council Steering Committee, and even from the regional directors at state parks, that there is a clear desire for more guidance and best practices on fundraising and development. So Park and Trails New York's own development director, Lyndon Horvath, who has presented before on some other workshops, will host these 2 workshops this year. The programs will be created based on your questions, but also on the discussions that you all are fostering on the Gateway through the discussion forums, which we're going to look at in a few minutes. So they're really going to be tailored to your needs. We're going to try to balance those out between groups that maybe are all volunteer driven and don't have a lot of experience applying for grants versus more established organizations that have been successful but kind of want to take their fundraising or grant applications to the next level, so to speak. And so we're really confident that with Lyndon's insights and getting your feedback into how this should be developed, that they will be really useful and impactful content for you all. And we're looking forward to hosting them this spring and fall. So keep an eye out for those dates, and we're looking forward to bringing them to you. I know Lyndon's very excited about it. So those are just a couple of deeper dives into some of those member benefits. Before we transition over to a look at the Gateway, we just wanted to give you all a moment to sort of decompress on what you've just heard and have an opportunity to ask any questions about what we've covered. So take a moment or two if you need to add those to the chat. Again, that's the button at the bottom of your Zoom screen here, and we'll give you, again, a couple for that. So Peter, I see you're asking about, is there a cost of these services? Yes, there is. It's going to be based on your friends group's organization's annual budget. And we're actually going to look at that more specifically in a couple of minutes. So I'll give you an infographic there that'll sort of break it down that Shana has set up for us. So it's a good question, and I promise I will get to it. Yes. So Daniel, yes, this presentation will be able to be reviewed. We're going to send that out as a recording, so you'll have that. Caitlin, I saw you asked a question. It's just disappeared. Okay. How would we share our events? You can email them to us. That's a good way, with a description about what it is. If you have some digital materials or some assets that you want to just send directly, we can absolutely just essentially transfer them over and post them out on a day and time that you feel like would be most impactful, or you could sort of let us choose, I guess, if you wanted to do that. So those would be good ways to do it. If you have nowhere to start, I'd say a phone conversation is probably best. Email us and say, hey, I want to talk to you about it. And Shane and I, or Maria and Shane, or whichever combination of the parks team can get together with you and talk about what your vision is and walk through that process. So I'd say that's probably the best way to go about doing that. John says, do any of PTNY's current programs or communications change with this initiative? Yes, a little bit. So I think, John, one of the biggest things that you'll see is over the course of the next few months is, and it's actually a nice sort of segue to looking at the Gateway specifically, is almost all of our communications, event registrations, and those types of logistical things are going to start running through the Gateway, particularly for event registrations like Park Advocacy Day. We're going to be sending out invitations through this system, and then it'll be a registration form. So all of your information is captured much more efficiently and consistently for us, and it will hopefully make our products a little bit better. So that's definitely one way that we'll be doing it. And I think the other piece, which is a little bit more latent, would just be, again, the parks team sort of mining and supporting the discussion forums and the resources pages, which we're going to look at, to really learn from you all about what your needs are, and then developing more resources and content and workshops to support what those gaps or what those areas of needs might be. So those are just a couple of our initial thoughts, but as Shana pointed out, we might have to sort of wait and see what the gateway and what these benefits, membership benefits, reveal to us, and then sort of adapt them over time. So we're hoping it's sort of a living function, if that makes any sense, instead of a living document. It's sort of like a living program.
Nancy, to answer your question, I see Nancy asked, if a group is not a member of the gateway, will they not be able to register for events? No, you will still be able to register for events if you are not a member of the gateway. We will only, unless it's a members only event, then, like our 2 workshops, most of our other events programming will be available to everyone. It will just be running through the gateway, like a platform through the gateway. It will still come to your email. You'll still be able to sign up without having to register.
All right. Yes. So Neil's question about the cost, I think, is a good way for us to move on from this Q&A. We're going to have another opportunity for Q&A at the end. So, if you have any questions, feel free to jot them down and you can post them there. But let's get into some of the nitty gritty of it. And so Shane and I are going to do something a little bit different than we've done in previous workshops. And Shane is going to do her best to follow along with me and show you essentially the gateway in real time live on screen here. So we're going to just give you a virtual tour, if you will. So let's take a look at it. This is the Friends Group Gateway. You can find that by going to ptnyfriends.org. Many of you probably received an email, but if not, we tried to create a web address that was really easy and straightforward. So ptnyfriends.org seems to really cut to what we're trying to do here. And so the gateway is much more than a way of friends groups, to connect and access the resources. It's really a vehicle for engaging with and utilizing all the number of benefits that we're offering out to your organization. And so before we look at these specific tools, I do want to mention that over the coming months, as we just kind of talked about during the Q&A, we're going to be transitioning to the gateway and its functions. So event registrations and communications will certainly be running through here. As you can see, the gateway provides a lot of features. And while some of the pages, the majority of the pages in reality, are publicly accessible, pages like the Find a New York State Friends group that drives folks to your online presence, or our advocacy priorities or information about upcoming events, many of the most pertinent, dense resources and tools that are for friends groups are going to be reserved for members. So we're going to look at a couple of those things right now. First thing right here on the main page is our upcoming events. So you'll see those right where Shana's sort of circling the mouse here. It's going to show you what workshops we have coming up and other main events that you'll need to know about. For example, Park Advocacy Day and I Love My Park Day. So that'll be a quick way for you to go there and get any information you need. This will also be where we're posting registrations and those types of things for you to be able to quickly access. If we do receive information from you all about an upcoming event, for example, if Walkway is hosting a 4th of July fireworks event, we will be able to put, and they let us know, we can put that on the calendar too. So you can start to see what some other events are going on in terms of friends groups across the state. But it's really going to be for friends groups focused content. Another page that is going to be publicly available, but could be very valuable for you all, are 2 pages. The first is about New York State's friends groups. We had one of our Leadership Council members mention that having access to the economic benefits it can be really valuable for friends groups, and providing some of this broader context about why New York State parks and public lands matter could be really helpful for talking with donors about the collective impact of friends groups or applying for grants. So it's just a nice way to sort of frame some of the work that we do, and we want to make sure that we've taken some previous content that we had out on the web and consolidated it a bit here, made it a little bit more user-friendly, and made the text a bit more accessible. Another page that we want to draw your attention to, because it is the season, would be our advocacy priorities pages. What you're going to see here would be the advocacy priorities that Parks and Trails New York was putting forward before the governor's state of the state. Now that the governor's proposed budget is out, we will be updating this in the next week or so to respond to that specifically. But it's a great place to find what our advocacy actions are and to access some of the upcoming sign-on letters that we'll be putting out to all friends groups, particularly in terms of supporting Advocacy Day if you're unable to make it or you want to attend, and also the Increased Environmental Protection Fund, which obviously supports a lot of our work, and in particular Park and Trail Partnership Grant. So it's a good way to see what we're focused on and some of the priorities of our coalition and partner organizations' priorities. Another page I wanted to mention here, which I think is hopefully beneficial to you all, is the Find a New York State Friends group. And this is a page that we had on the PTNY site, which you can still find there, but it's a bit more consolidated, where you can actually find friends groups across New York State. We have an interactive map, but each link has been updated so that we're driving folks, the public or any other individuals that might be accessing the site, to find your group specifically and your online presence. So it's an additional tool that we're putting out there. If for some reason you don't see your name, let us know. Or if you'd like to update some of the resources or the link that's connected to, please certainly let us know as well. And the last publicly accessible resource that I just wanted to touch on before we dive into some of the deeper pieces is the resources and reports pages. So these are just where you would find some of our most important and well-referenced resources, in particular the best practices manual for friends groups, the Friends Resource Kit, and in some of our older reports too. On the reports page, you'll see sort of the impact of friends groups historically. We're going to be talking about the Friends by the Numbers survey in a little bit, but you'll be able to go back in time and see the last few Friends by the Numbers surveys, the most recent economic benefits study that we put forward about the impact of friends groups. Again, it's just a way to be able to frame some of the work that you all are doing, again, whether it's fundraising or likewise. And so let's jump into the resources for members only. So a primary element, a major factor for the development of this gateway was the reimagining of our resource library that we have available to friends groups. We recognize that in the past, there was a lot of resources, but they were a bit difficult to navigate and really drill down to a topic that we're looking for or the particular resource that you might need to find. So we have reorganized them into these 7 categories you see here, and it will make it hopefully, again, easier for you to find what you need. What we're going to do is we're just going to look at nonprofit and friends group management resources. Now, this first page is very similar to all of the resource landing pages, in that this is still a publicly accessible page. It's set up that way because it is going to host the most recent pertinent workshop recording right here for folks to be able to access. So today's workshop, for example, would be on there, but if you wanted to send it out to more members of your friends group or to other members or volunteers, you'd be able to just send them this link and have them be able to catch that recording. And then also we have chosen, 1 or 2 of the best, most highly used and publicly accessible resources right here on this page that folks might want to have access to. But if you click this next link, that's for members only. It's actually going to bring you to the meat of the resources. And these are going to be guidance documents, templates, links, and perhaps most importantly, examples provided from other friends groups. It's going to make creating the right documents and policies and plans for you a lot more effective, and hopefully I'll save you a lot more time as opposed to having to rewrite something that's generic. Another great feature is that friends are going to be able to solicit help, suggestions, and sample documents from other friends groups through the gateway, which we can then add permanently to this library, ensuring that it's again, a living resource that continues to provide the tools you need and is responsive to the work that we do as a community of friends groups in the ever-changing landscape that exists out there for us. So how will the sharing of resources happen? Primarily through networking, which is what you all have said that you would like to see from us. It happens through the Friends Groups forum, or it can happen by you sharing those resources directly to us, and we can upload them for you. So let's talk about the Friends forums, which are essentially discussion threads, discussion forums. For those of us that remember the launch of the internet age, you would have called this a chat room, I suppose. But these really are discussion threads where you can ask for advice, seek insights, or talk about issues that are important to you and your friends groups. Currently, we have 26 forums representing 8 different areas of your work that you can engage in. These include forums on each park region, specific best practice areas, by type of site, meaning park, historic site, multi-use trail, or DEC affiliated land. Forums on the Park and Trail Partnership Grant, and also things as big picture as building relationships with state parks or an affiliated agency. It's a great place for you to solicit suggestions for contractors or consultants, to share upcoming events, and any other updates that are relevant to your corner of New York State or the work that you are doing to champion your public land. So you can even get the latest updates on I Love My Park Day or the statewide conference for friends and things of that nature. So we strongly encourage members and all of the individual members of your groups who are participating to engage and connect with one another, solicit help, and ask for advice. As you register your group and you link members of your own organizations to your account so they can access this, when they sign and log in, they're going to end up on the member landing page. This is what it will look like, and Shana's kindly enough showing her own page here, but one of the features that it does have is also a directory. And the directory is going to be available for members only. It's going to let you search for a friends group or potentially a friends group member that you might have been engaging with on a friends forum, so that you can connect directly about topics that are of interest or to get particular suggestions or insights. So only information that's searchable in the directory would be these sort of basic things like the organization, any email address that you've added, and basically your title or position with the organization. And I just want to stress that the gateway is a closed system. Only Shana and I or any individual member can access their own information. It's not available to everybody else. The public can't access it. This isn't a social media platform where we're selling your information to advertisers or anything like that. So it's a completely closed system. And of course you control your own, the own information that you want to make available. But we do think that providing this additional element of contact would be really meaningful for you all. And the example that we use a lot is, if you're a volunteer coordinator and you see on the forum that someone else is doing an event that's similar, and you want to run a couple of ideas by them or solicit some advice, you can actually search for them, send them an email and say, hey, Maria, I saw what you're posting. That looks like a cool idea. How are you doing X, Y, and Z? Do you feel like this is a good idea? And you can kind of share some concepts like that. So that is some of those main features that we wanted to highlight to you. That would be, again, for members only. And in summary of the gateway, it's the last couple of pieces here to get to some folks' specific questions. The registration process, we think, is pretty easy and straightforward. The person completing the registration for your organization will be what we call a key contact. They will have the ability to add individuals from your group to the gateway. They will also be the person that is paying for this Friends membership. And they will do that by credit card. We're just keeping it simple using credit cards, and we're not accepting checks or cash. Memberships, as I mentioned, are going to be based on your organization's annual budget. And our Friends group memberships run for the duration of a calendar year. So I know Shana has a couple of examples here that we can run through. So we've broken it up into sort of three very broad categories, again, based on budget. So leader groups, those were, say, budgets are under $10,000, we'll be paying $50 for the year. Ambassador Friends groups have a budget that is essentially, Champion Friends groups, there we go, have a budget between $10,000 and $100,000 a year. Their annual dues would be $100. And for our ambassador groups, they have an annual budget over $100,000 a year. And so we're asking that their annual dues be $150. I mentioned the outdoor recreation professional for individuals who may want to have access to certain benefits, and that would be $75 for them as an individual for the year. But we did a little bit of a breakdown just to kind of show you as a Champion Friends groups, again, if your budget's between $10,000 and $100,000, it's $100 a year. If you have 5 members from your group participating in the gateway, you can basically look at it as $20 for the year, or basically $1.70 per person per month. So we hope that there's not sticker shock, but we do think it's a valuable and affordable resource. And so as we sort of summarize this piece of the gateway and this membership highlight, we want to highlight 2 very specific things. First, as I mentioned, it's one flat fee for your entire group. So as many members of your group can participate as you would like. That could be 5, that could be 50, it could be 550, unlikely, but possible. So your key contact, so whomever is paying the invoice, can then add individuals during the registration process, which might be the most convenient way, or they can add or remove linked members at any time through their My Community link on their own member landing page when they log in. So we will be providing a how-to guide, a little infographic on how to do those steps. It's basically 3 steps. It shouldn't be too elaborate, but then you'll be able to send a link to those members who then create their own private username and password. So one person, your key contact, is not responsible for everybody's login information. It does still keep those levels of privacy and autonomy. If you have any questions about that, Shane and I are happy to help you navigate that at any time. The other highlight that I really want to stress here is that it can really be a valuable asset for your individual friends groups. So if you join the gateway, and by extension, the access to all these member benefits, it's something that you can then extend to your own members as a value add-on. And it's really nice to know at times that you are part of a bigger picture, you're part of a community that can lend support and best practices and ideas for the work that they're doing. So that's why we really encourage you to bring your leadership on for your organization at a minimum. But if you have folks who aren't officially, on the board, maybe you're grooming them to help carry the torch into the future, this could be a really great resource for them, or someone who's a peripheral, on the edge volunteer or wants to host events, but they're not quite sure where to get started. This could be that place to kind of help keep them engaged with you all through this process. So just wanted to highlight those things for you. Lastly, before we jump into an open Q&A session, just a look ahead of a couple of things. As I mentioned, the quarterly You Gotta Have Friends newsletter is coming back. Our first issue will be on February 17th. It will be a public issue. So we will send it out to all friends groups, every contact that we have across the board, regardless of their engagement with the gateway, at least for this first issue. And then over the course of this year, we're really going to be reeling that back to a members only resource. Also, we've talked about this corporate volunteer group facilitation initiative that we're leading that's going to connect your group with corporate volunteer groups to give you new connections to leverage or human power to advance some projects and initiatives that you have in your own park or site. The Friends by the Numbers survey, our semi-regular survey and assessment of friends groups across New York State will be coming up this summer. That will be posted and hosted through the Gateway, so something else to look forward to. We will also be expanding the Leadership Council, which is the steering committee that Shana mentioned a little bit earlier. We are going to be broadening the scope of that, and all of those committees essentially and extensions will be hosted through the Gateway. So it'll essentially be an internal email system to share meeting notes and conversations. So we're looking forward to drawing that out. But I think one thing to just notice is that the Gateway gets better. The membership benefits get better the more involved that friends groups are and the more members that are involved. It's really meant to be a community, and the more voices that are in that community, the better for all of us. So that's the framework that we have laid out. And so with that, I will put a pause in it and open it up to some more questions for folks that may have them. Shana, you might have gotten some questions directly too. So, you know, I'll see what I can give you here. So, let's see. So yeah, John, I saw your question about how many of your trustees could participate. Essentially, it's an unlimited number for that one flat fee for the membership. So I hope that answered your question. Neil as well. I know you asked a question about costs. I think that we covered that, but I'm happy to do so again if you would like. Richard said, is the Gateway available to the sort of groups that impact state land, as you mentioned at the start, if they're not formal friends group or equivalent? Are you saying formal friends group meaning officially affiliated with a state agency?
Well, I wasn't entirely sure what it meant, but rather if it's you know, a 501c3 or incorporated in some way or has an MOU or MOA, whatever they're called, versus, you know, rail trail enthusiasts, that, you know, that sort of people who are, I think you floated the idea of, you know, anyone who's interested in having impact on our state lands or involved with them. So those people versus, you know, more formal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really sort of what we're envisioning for the outdoor recreation professional, is to give that opportunity to open that door to affiliated to groups who might be tangentially involved. They might be interested in some of our content. This actually came out of an idea where there were a couple of state employees that were interested in sort of unofficially having access to some of the work that we were doing, and also outdoor recreation professionals from Pennsylvania and Massachusetts who kind of wanted to get plugged into some of the work that we were doing. So I think that's hopefully that.
Right, but yeah, so I guess that was the fine point of those folks as individuals versus a loosely organized group, you know, some mountain bike club in wherever, I guess would be a good example of the alternative.
Yep.
So they could join as a group.
Yes.
Or one of them as an individual.
Yeah, or they might say, you know, I think we'd be happy to work that with them depending on sort of where they are on the spectrum of being official and how established they are. I mean, maybe it would make sense to start as sort of this individual component and then roll into a member, you know, a group membership, or the other way around potentially.
I mean, the only reason I was asking that was because to see is the reach even that much wider. I
hope so. But we're always open to continuing to adjust and evolve it. I mean, that's part of the concept, I believe.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Will, I see a question on here from Lawrence. How soon will we be able to join the Gateway? Great question.
Great question. Lawrence, you can join right now. I mean, I would like you to stay on the workshop, but you can join anytime that you like. It's fully active. We launched on the 5th. We did a little bit of beta testing with some staff and the Leadership Council, but it is fully functional. And we've had a couple of groups who are not part of that test set join. So it's ready to rock and roll right now.
Also, I did put a link to the registration form in the chat, as well as if you go to ptnyfriends.org and go to the Join Us page, you can register from there. I will be sending out more emails in the upcoming day. If you haven't already received an email from us about joining the Gateway, I will be sending out a couple more waves of that. So keep your eyes peeled for one of those. Let's see. We have a question here from, sorry if I pronounced this wrong, Bertil. Regarding the grants portion, is this limited to board member access?
So I guess I'd look for some clarification. If it's part of the resources page, like, fundraising and development and those resource library components, that would be limited to members. If it's about the Park and Trail Partnership Grant specifically, we actually maintain most of the resources about Parks and Trails Partnership Grant on ptny.org's homepage, or on that website where it has always lived. And the pages that we have on the Gateway drive back to that. There are a couple of Friends Forum threads, some discussion forums about Park and Trail Partnership Grant. Those are actually, I believe we left those publicly accessible in case there were some groups that may be applying for grant to become a formal Friends group, or they might not yet be at the point where they're able to access the Gateway. And so they could still engage in those conversations and learn from that process through the forum. So I hope that answered your question. If not, ask another question or follow up with us at any time and we can get specific.
There is a question from Kathleen, York Knox Farm, wondering what communication interactive commitment might look like. Is this something you see as a daily, weekly, monthly connection? Will events be announced via email? So there's a couple parts in here, I think.
So in terms of like the Friends Forum, the discussion forum, using the directory to reach out to other people, across the state that are doing similar work or in similar sort of positions within the organization, is completely self-driven. There's no, requirement on our part that folks engage with it. We really just want to make it an open, ongoing, standing opportunity to do that. In terms of communications, from us out to you all, I think sort of the cadence that you're used to expecting from the parks team would be very similar. I think Shane and I are hoping to do a few more workshops this year to kind of piggyback off of our events and some other work that we're doing. So that might increase slightly, but it would be a very similar level of engagement from us through the Gateway, if that makes any sense. Unless, of course, you all are reaching out to us about those member benefits, like an advocacy campaign with Congress Plus, or creating some social media campaigns, and of course, the development workshops, which would come in spring and fall. So I hope that answers your question. And events would be, of course, announced via email. That's one of the things that Shane and I want to mention is we're still using some of our own email addresses and the MailChimp account we have for a period of time, but we will be trying to push more of that through the Gateway. It's a little bit of a more efficient system on our end. So don't be surprised if you see emails from friends@ptny. That is the primary email address for us linked to the Gateway.
I will say too that you can follow and subscribe to different forums. So if you're just interested on like following up on a very particular forum, I believe you can subscribe through email, but you can also subscribe if through that member landing page, you could go to forums and you could put ones that would show up at the top. You will get notifications for some. That's entirely up to what you're looking for. We do have a question here from John. If we have events we'd like support to promote, how do we communicate those events to you? So this is the second time we received that question. And you're right, John, there isn't any place on the site for that info. We were hoping that Friends will just communicate with us for that. So you can email us at friends@ptny.org. We could have a phone call. We can talk about that if it's something, that requires a little more of a conversation. But yes, feel free to just email us that information once you register. Let's see. Oh, I got a question in the chat, Will, about the login on the registration page. So someone is reaching out that they have an account through the grant portal for the Park and Trail Partnership grants. Is that login information the same for the gateway?
So no. Any login that you have for PTNY is completely separate than what we have here for the Friends Group Gateway. Because they're completely separate, if it makes it easier for you, you can use the same login information. It's essentially one less password and username to remember. But if you go to register and you're plugging in a username and password that you've used for the Park and Trail Partnership Grant, for example, with PTNY and the Foundant system, it won't work. This is a completely separate system. So that's a great question.
I see another question about joining. So someone is asking if they still have to communicate with their group, might have to join halfway through the year. Do you still pay the full cost? How long does that membership last, and what does that look like?
That's a great question. So I don't have a fully fleshed out answer for you. I think that the plan is, it's at the beginning of the year. We're certainly hoping that we can get a preponderance of groups, the lion's share of groups opting in earlier rather than later, to really foster what we're hoping to do. That said, it is on our radar for Shayna and Robin Dropkin, our executive director, to look at a prorated, if you will, or a discounted membership partway through the year. Exactly when we would launch that, I don't know, but I would suspect likely after Island My Park Day.
One of the last questions I'm seeing in here, I think maybe then we can move into wrap up, is there a major difference between the individual group or individual memberships for outdoor recreational professionals or versus the Friends groups?
Sure. It's a good question. For the Friends groups, there are certainly a lot more member benefits than there are for the outdoor recreation professionals, the individual membership. So for the individuals, simply they're getting access to the gateway, invitations to our workshops, to the statewide conference and a park advocacy day, as well as the 2 development-focused workshops. They do not have access to the digital marketing and promotion tools like the advocacy campaign or the social media, and they don't have a couple of additional opportunities to attend some other events like the members only cocktail hour that we're going to be hosting with the statewide conference. And they won't be able to access the corporate volunteer group registration concept that we're rolling out this summer. So there are those sort of deeper, more elaborate benefits that are not available to them.
That might be it, unless any more are coming through the chat. No, so maybe we can move into wrap up. Did you get any, Will? Any other questions sent to you?
I did not. I think that covers them.
Okay, wonderful. All right, well, I wanted to again thank you all for coming out and for giving us the opportunity to share this exciting opportunity with you. We're very excited. I want to let everyone know that we will be hosting the same workshop again on Saturday, February 10th at 10 a.m. We decided to do it on a Saturday for those of you, who can't get out, for your members who can't get out during a work day and get to these workshops. So we're really trying to reach as many people as possible. So spread the word for those of your members who might not know or didn't get to come today. And then please look out for a follow-up email. We will be sending that out soon with resources and upcoming dates, including a Park Advocacy Day interest form for 2022. Which, as Will mentioned earlier, will be the week of March 7th. So keep that in your calendars, look out for your email. We will also be hosting the recording of this workshop, as Will mentioned again, on the Gateway, as well as some frequently asked question resources, documents that might help you guide you through this process of registering, setting up, getting your membership benefits, all that jazz. We're still working on this, so we can work together. And lastly, as always, please reach out to us with any ideas, suggestions, or questions. We're happy to chat on any member benefits, happy to chat on anything that might be going wrong with the registration process, or to just help you get registered. If you're like, I don't want to take this on by myself, can you walk me through it? We can walk you through it. Also, we would be happy to come to your next board meeting if that's what it's going to take. If you want us to sit down with you during your next board meeting virtually and discuss some of these membership benefits, answer any questions that your group might have. And with that, thank you again. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. It's a good idea for another meeting.
Good, yes, thank you. It'll be identical to this one, so thank you.
Thanks, guys.
You-
You.